Welcome everybody to Stories and Solutions. My name is Mr. Todd. We're back. This is the next installment of the Culturalist Theory interview with C.J. Williams, aka Annabelle Brown. Check them out. It's called Culturalist Theory, and they review music and all kinds of ways of ranking. It's pretty cool. Take a listen. So I wanted to ask you, how did you start your show?
Man, that's a good question. So I had been podcasting, like I said, I have been making YouTube content since '08, just throwing stuff against the wall to see if it stick. And then in 2013, I started a podcast with a friend of mine where we would recap like the week in hip hop, right?
Okay.
Kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with Pardon Interruption on ESPN, but we basically just kind of took that model.
Okay.
We recapped and commentated on things that happened during the week, and then we have an original topic. And so the original topic would just be things, honestly, we would debate over on the couch while we played Madden.
Oh,
It would be,
that's
this
cool.
person, the best top 10, this person's discography ranked, we would just do stuff like that. And so halfway during doing this channel, I had an idea of what if we took the rankings and made them their own thing and made a
Mm,
channel around it because I follow channels like Watch Mojo, I follow channels like Looper, and they
yeah,
do really dope lists and rankings and countdowns, but they never do black shit. And so
yeah,
I was like, I was like,
that's true.
yeah, and which is fine. That means somebody else needs to do it, and so I feel like I'm capable enough. And so I procrastinated for a couple of years because I didn't want to do it by myself. I feel like there's strength in numbers, and so I tried to
Yeah.
get a group of people to like let's all do this. It didn't really connect, and then I ran it by my friend Q, who I met when I moved here, and she said the one thing she said these couple of words I had never heard anybody say. I ran the idea by her because I was a little frustrated that I couldn't get any help, and she said, "Oh, I like the idea. How can I help?" And I was like,
Mm, yeah, people don't do that.
"When the last time you heard that?"
No, because oh man,
You know what I'm saying?
oh my God. Because people say, oh man, people say to me all the time, why didn't you put your book out? Why didn't you put your music out? Why did you? And then like I talked to on Instagram, Damon John.
Yeah.
I have like these crazy ideas, and I'm like, man, this is perfect.
Yep.
But the sad thing is, it's true. It's like no one says, hey, how can I help you do that?
Bruh.
It's always what's in it for me,
Yeah, exactly. Every
which
time,
makes
bro.
you right, which makes you not want to divulge. Like even before I spoke to you, I thought, man, I was watching same thing like you said about the Looper. I was watching your show and I was like, man, I would this is like a dream kind of thing. I was like, man, I would love to come on this guy's show and just have a list about the producers and have a
Yeah.
list about and I was like, I'm just telling you, it's like I was sitting in my living room going, I could actually see me sitting there with you just like about these, yeah, music's the music, but like
Sure.
the other side of the music,
Facts. Yeah.
the best moguls, and see, here's this will show you is genuine for me. I don't care if you use it because it's out there, but
Right.
right, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it'd be great if somebody said, "Hey, man, that's a great idea."
Let's
Hit
do
me
it.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus, oh yeah, I thought about that. And then 2 weeks later, they come out with exactly what you said,
It's, it,
and you don't get no nothing. Believe me, man.
dog. It's that bothers me to no end. Bro, I can't. It's just, but to the story, I ran it by Q. She said those four magic words. How can I help? And it took me I was actually taken aback. Honestly, that's how long it's been since I've heard that. And so I was like, yeah, this is how you can help. And man, we put it together. 2/22/22 was the start date. So we coming up on 3 years. Yeah, we'll be 3 years
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna
So
say, happy
yeah,
anniversary.
appreciate it, man. So yeah, it's just I wanted our version of Looper and Watch Mojo. That's the short answer. But I wanted it to be a little different than theirs because I wanted people to put a face to it. And like because I wanted people to watch it grow. Because we look at it as a media company. That's how Q and I approach it, as a media company,
Okay,
and
okay.
not a YouTube channel.
Got
So
you.
we wanted to scale past that, and that's hard to do when there's no face and no name and no personality attached to it. So that's kind of why we show ourselves. I watch. You familiar with Watch Mojo, the
I watch
channel?
it. Yeah,
Yeah, me too. I'm a big fan. They
yeah.
have a series right now called Inside Mojo, where they're doing a one-on-one with the guy who created it.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Me, they have 25 million subscribers, right?
Damn.
The first episode went up 4 weeks ago. It has 25 views.
Wow. So no, it's not coming across.
It's not coming. The second episode maybe has like 1,200. The third episode maybe has 1,200. But they have 25 million subscribers.
Yeah, you can take 1% of that and you're still gonna have at
Bro,
least what's that 25,000, 250,000, right? No, 25,000. So
exactly.
yeah.
So it's people don't care about who started it. They don't care the story. They just want to be entertained by your list. They don't care about, they've never seen you. They never heard the name. I didn't want that. And I knew that when we started. I was like, yo, I don't want it to be faceless, nameless. I want people to know who we are. And I want it to be as if you had a front row seat to when the source was started, or you had a front row seat
Mm,
to when BET was started. You know the people behind it,
yeah,
and you see the man. I remember when they had 2,000 subs. I remember when they had 10, and then you see it grow, and then we can scale it, and then we have a higher ceiling that way, in my opinion. And that kind of just seeing that with Mojo just kind of validated my thought a little bit, because we got plans, man. We want to. This is gonna sound, this is pie in the sky stuff, but it's gonna happen.
no,
We
I
want to
see.
we want to make community centers,
Okay,
like to where, because I grew up in a Boys and Girls Club,
okay,
and that's kind of how I stayed out of trouble. But then also that's how I like learned how to do a whole bunch of. I know how to shoot pool. I know how to play basketball. I know how to swim. I know how to play ping pong. I know all these hobbies really well. I can play all this shit at a high level. Okay, cool.
okay.
But I'm thinking, what if I went into a community? What if a kid went into a community center, and they were well rounded in credit, they were well rounded in public speaking, they were well rounded in math, science, and tech. Like, what if somebody came out well rounded in all that stuff instead of me coming out and I know how to shoot ball and I know how to,
Right,
swing a table tennis thing. Like, what
right.
if somebody was able to do that? And so our goal long term is to open up community centers where people can learn these things, but they're being taught in ways that are relatable. So I would teach, well, not me, but someone would teach credit through like maybe sneakers or something, or someone would teach tech through video games, or someone would teach public speaking through social media. Just like stuff like that. So people come out
Right.
well rounded and
Right.
ready to like, like they come out impressive people. Like, you ever met a kid, you're like,
Right.
yo, that kid is impressive.
Yes.
Like, I
Yes.
want people to walk out and be like, yo, these kids are nice. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
they can dress, they can
Mm-hmm.
speak, they can,
Mm-hmm.
they know the tech stuff. Just like, so I'm going on a rant, my bad,
No,
but
it's
like,
okay.
that's our
No, this
goal,
is what I
man.
like.
Like,
This is what I like.
yeah, that's our goal at the end of the day. So I know that has nothing to do with what we're doing currently, but that's the end game. And so we're trying to build it up to get to that point. And if we got to use music and TV and film and culture as the vehicle to people to buy in and grow it, then that's what it is. So
Now I'm gonna tell you something. I never meet people that think outside like that. Every
yeah,
time I say that to somebody, it's don't tell don't tell people what you're gonna do because they're gonna do it. And I'm not selfish like that. I'm like, look, if those people didn't want me to be a part of their thing, even if they heard the idea from me, I
right,
wouldn't
right.
want to work with them anyway,
Exactly. Yeah,
right? But when you have if you are truly sincere about what you're doing, then you're gonna want those people there
yeah.
because
It ain't
they're
about you anyway.
exactly they're
Yeah,
like-minded, right? Like to
right,
me, I want to show people like, okay, I don't live in a mansion, but
right.
but I'm not in jail. I'm
No,
not robbing nobody.
yep.
I like I said, I come from the Bronx. I've been homeless.
Mhm.
I where I lived, rats running around,
Yeah,
roaches when you open up your cereal box, that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
Broken home kind of thing. So to me, I don't want to be the preacher of, well, this is where I came from and you could do this. No, I want to be able to say, I know where you're going through, and here's some outlets.
Yep.
Here's some education. This is what I learned. And here's the education of, like you said, how to, because I teach, how to, I think, I'm not a Trump fan, but I will say
Mm.
this. I think that the educational system sucks. It's
Of
just,
course, yeah,
right?
clearly. Yeah.
Right? And in California, we're the lowest ones. Like,
Mm.
to me, that's insane. We have the most amount of money, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's not about it, it's never come across as like my job went from teaching to babysitting because
Ah.
in schools it used to be where you can reprimand kids, you could take them outside, talk to them, you
Yep.
can make them pick up trash. Now you get sued, you go to jail, and they call it corporal punishment. Yet, if that same kid went outside to your car
Yep.
and was smashing it with a hammer,
Yep.
and you grab that kid, you go to jail.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So I've been trying to move myself away from it. And
Yeah.
you think about going to a hospital, you think about going to jail,
Them
and you look at,
walls.
yeah, and then if you look at the on the top side of it, they all have the same grid,
Mm.
and all three of them are called institutions,
That's true.
right? So
Yep.
to me, I think kids, I've been around them long enough to know their attention span is small, but if you have things outside that you can see are possible, and you're
Yep.
looking at the birds, and you're not, you know what I mean? You're not looking at just these dingy walls. You're
Right.
looking at, the planes go by and
Hmm.
the clouds. Your mind sees possibility,
Yep.
right? And then you're
100%.
able to say, okay, I can do something.
Yep.
That's the beginning.
Yep.
And
That's
then
where
you
it's
could say,
formed, bro. That
right?
you move on offense. You know what I'm saying? You think
Yeah.
offensively. Like you're like, yo, it's not a whole like it's kind of like that mindset of and I remember growing up, my mom would always talking like, yeah, we can't afford that, right?
Hmm.
Or something. There's always that language, and so that kind of gets embedded in you, as opposed to like, how can I afford that? Like it's just
Yes.
when you think of something differently, you move differently. I mean, you know what I mean? You're gonna act differently, you're gonna move differently, and then you're going to accomplish things because they're not going to seem so far fetched. They're not going to seem so out of reach. They're going when things seem possible, you attempt them. And when they seem impossible, you go, it ain't gonna, it would never work anyway, or whatever the case may be. You just approach things differently. So I'm with you, man. The eggshell walls and the it's like, yo,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that stuff day in and day out, and no, man, like it
It's a
has an effect.
mental
Yeah,
prison. Mental
yeah,
prison. Yeah. And
couldn't
and
agree
it, and it,
more.
and it doesn't bring you hope. It brings you despair, you know.
Yep,
If it brought you hope, the kids wouldn't be, smoking weed before school, doing
yep.
edibles at lunch. I mean, these are
You
all
wouldn't
this
need it.
exactly. These are all escapes. I
Yep.
remember I went to a school and they hired me to do a motivational speech, and I was talking about where I came from
Mm,
and how I got where I am. And when it was all done, there was 300 kids. They were clapping. And this one lady came over to me and she said, do you know when we have assemblies, these kids are never quiet. They were silent with you.
yep.
And I said, yeah, thank you. She said, I really like your message. Thank you. Then the other side came and made a comment. Yeah, but over here, you're like barbecue sauce and we're like ranch. And I looked at her and I was like, well, maybe you need to change your recipe,
Yeah, exactly.
Like they need a little spicing up in there.
Right. For
You,
sure.
you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
you wouldn't have hired me if your way was working,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so because I said that, I never got a job there again,
Yeah, they
you
they
know,
don't like that. It's the
because
truth,
it's the
man. When
truth.
people hold
Yeah,
the mirror up, bro, they don't like that.
that's right. So like,
Even if it's not for them, it's for the kid. It ain't even about you. It's about the kids. They
mm-hmm,
still.
mm-hmm.
This
That,
is
that's just the truth. So like
yeah.
when you like with your show. if you because I admire the fact that you guys are independent.
Yep.
Like, if somebody came to you and said, I'm trying to think of Joe Budden, like, you know how he started off,
Yep.
and I can't remember the other guy. Was it academics when they first started off? It was,
Yeah. Everyday struggle.
yeah. And
Yep.
then that split, and then they came,
Yep.
he did his own. So the major came in, and to me, he doesn't have the freedom to do and say as he pleases.
Yep.
Do you now would you welcome an outside finance thing, or would you say, no, I'd rather have my control?
Man, here's the good thing about being in kind of in the time that we are, and we're aware of a whole lot more things, right? So we've lived through MC Hammer going broke.
Hmm.
We've lived
Hmm.
through 30 for 30 athletes going broke. We lived through this person getting screwed in this deal, that deal, and the third deal. So, in my opinion, it's inexcusable in 2025 to if someone were to come, we got lawyers, we got two lawyers, we got one lawyer reading the contract, and then we got a lawyer watching the other lawyer read the contract. They looking at over their shoulder. It's no reason for us to walk into something blindly and to end up getting screwed over to where it doesn't benefit everyone involved, including the mission at hand. So if someone were to, if Spotify were to call tomorrow, I mean, hypothetically speaking, we're not blinded by big numbers anymore. Like we need to know
Okay.
exactly like what does this mean because
Right.
now we're at the point where we know what the. I remember Master P said, and again I grew up in the South. I was a big P fan, and so he said, "Man, they called me and offered me $1 million," and I was like, "If they offer me 1 million, then how much they finna make off of it? And then how
Hmm.
much is it really worth then?" So we
Hmm.
turned it down. I was like,
Oh,
yeah, you know what? Nah, we good. Like, cause that means it's worth 30, 40.
right, right, right.
So let me play this on my own. Like, so that's how we have the hindsight. Hindsight is 2020, and we have the benefit of knowing history and how these things go. So if someone were to call, obviously we're gonna take the call, but we're gonna have everything in place to break what exactly is this and can we fulfill our goals through this? And if not, no, because we can't be blinded by the shiny number. That's it's just we just can't fall for that anymore. It's inexcusable now. Like it just they'll still try to pull it, but that
Hmm.
don't mean you got to fall for it. And so
True.
listen, man, we be open because then we be able to spread the message, but it have to make sense though. Like
Right.
it just and we know what owning the IP, we know what that's worth. And I watch Wallow and get and $1 million
Mm.
worth of game, and
Gilly.
they talk about how they own their own IP and stuff. So it's not as if you can't get it. People own masters, people own publishing, people own IP all the time. Man,
Yeah,
we need all of that because that's worth more in the long run.
that's true. You
And we
know,
just we know that.
I just watched that interview. What was it? The Shannon Sharp Club Shay Shay.
With Wallow,
Yeah, and
I thought that was pretty good.
Gilly. Yeah, and I wasn't even like a fan of his because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I know Gilly, but I
Yep.
didn't know. Yeah, so it was listening to him, and I was like, this is what the youth needs to see.
Bingo.
Like a man could cry, a
Yep.
man. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like it.
He was vulnerable. He wasn't super tough. He was just
Mm-hmm.
on. He was real. He was like, "Yo, I'm not about to shoot another black dude, bro. I'm not. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm not hard. I'm not gonna do that shit. I'm not gonna go lay down for 50 years because of it. And
Right.
I'm not trying to do any of that. And like kids need to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not cool. It's not the place to be. It's not. It's okay to say that. You can be
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And he's getting to the. Everybody wants to get to the bag. He's getting to the bag while being that. So you
Right.
can be that and still accomplish your goals and be successful at the end of the day. And he
Yeah.
don't shoot ball and he don't rap.
Yeah. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like that's what I think is a beautiful thing because
Yeah.
the same way you just said that, like I've told kids that when I talk to them all the time, there was just a few days ago, there was these Latino kids. And again, like I said, I'm where the school I'm at right now, it's in a pretty good area.
Mhm.
So when I have these Latino boys walking and they're sagging like to the point that like I'm talking like jail
Deep
sagging,
sag. Yeah.
yeah. I pulled one over to the side and I was like, young man, can I speak to you for a second? And he's like, I ain't do nothing. I said, I didn't say you did anything. I said, can
Hmm.
I speak to you for a second? And I said, can you tell me one thing? What city are we in? He looked at me. I don't know. I'm like, we're in Tarzana. Like, this is not a gangster area.
Right, right,
I don't even think anywhere in the valley is gangster compared to where I come from. So I was like, like, why do you feel like you have to walk around like that here when all these kids come from money?
right.
I was
What's your
like,
purpose?
yeah. And I said, to me, it shows that you have more fear than these nerdy kids. Because the nerdy kids are being themselves.
Yep,
And you could say you're being yourself, but you're trying to show them something to fear you.
yep.
And that from a grown man, I'm not going to fear you. You're a target to me. And
Exactly.
and that's what I told him. I said, the reason why I walked up to you is because of the way you look. I ain't gonna walk up to these other kids because they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yep.
Right. And so I explained to him, I said, I just want you to understand something. I'm not your enemy, but I want you to live a long life. And wherever you came from and whatever your situation is, when you walk out these gates and you walking home and you look just like all your other friends, and your other friend got into it with somebody else, when them
Hmm.
bullets go flying or the bats come swinging,
Yep.
they don't care if you're a nice person deep down inside
Yep.
because you're showing them that you are of the other side,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I told him, I said, the thing that makes my son goes there, so he's 13. So
Hmm.
I said the thing that makes me hurt is when I see kids feel so insecure that they have to feel like they have to put on this persona
Yeah.
that's not them,
Yep.
right? Now on
Those
the
are the ones
other,
that act out the most, man.
exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Now on the other side of that, like that wallow thing, I'm a little different because I don't want to kill nobody, but I will be very honest. If you were trying to kill me,
Oh well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's a different story
you know what I'm saying?
for sure.
I'm not gonna be sitting there like, hey man, I'm about God. Hey
Yeah,
man,
right,
this
right.
is
Yeah, no,
peace.
it's
Nah,
yeah.
one thing I did learn in New York, and I was probably about 9 years old. I remember this kid was messing with me, and this grown man came up. He was like, "Yo, son, come here." And I walked over to him, and my mom had sent me to the store, and he says, "I want to talk to you." He goes, "You live up there on the third floor, huh?" Yeah. He's like, "You're a boss. I see you. You up there drawing or something. I see you looking down." And I said, "Oh." And then I got scared because I'm thinking like, this dude's watching me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, he ended up telling me the guys like you are the ones that'll run the gang, they'll run the organization because you're watching the whole neighborhood
Hmm.
and you know who's coming and going.
Yep.
He told me, don't fall into the trap.
Yep.
That stuck with me because it showed me that someone that's in the trap was take the time to say, don't fall into the
Don't fall.
trap,
Yep. They know
right?
it's a trap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I kept thinking, but I wonder why he didn't leave the game himself.
Yeah.
But again, we grow up a certain way,
Yeah.
and information is fed to you that that's the only way, and
Yep.
that's it.
Yep.
So yeah, so I like how I was saying like that wallow, I'm like, yeah, I'll never want to kill nobody, but
Right. Right. Right.
you know what I mean? But it's like there should be another way. And to me,
Absolutely.
where I come from, if you getting down with somebody, at least where how I grew up,
Hmm.
somebody knocks you down and
That's
you
it.
lose.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
There ain't no bunch of people
Yeah.
jumping
No.
in,
No. No.
stomping you out.
No.
They
No.
actually
No.
pull you apart and go,
Yep. It's
you know,
over.
yeah,
Yep.
you shake hands, it's
Yep.
done. So that way when you see them later, you don't
Because you're
have
gonna.
to go at it again.
It does. The cycle doesn't continue and then escalate and then because
Yeah.
we know that's what happens.
Yeah.
And it's crazy when you mention when you were like, man, I wonder why that guy kind of never, why he stayed in the game or whatever, or didn't, he was aware enough to know he was in it, but didn't leave it. And man, I think about that. Man, I had a partner of mine that said something so similar, and we were of the same age, and he was kind of in it. And I remember me and my homie that I did the podcast with were telling everybody that we were moving to Atlanta. He was like, "Yo, I'm out. We're finna move. We're finna try this thing over here." And he was one of the first people. He was like, "Yo, I'm so excited. I'm excited for y'all. I think that's super dope. I wish I could come with y'all." And
Hmm.
you know, I'm younger, so I'm like, man, come on, let's go. We can all, you know, we 3, 4 deep in an apartment, and all this stuff makes sense in theory when you're young. You know, it's like, come on, like, why? What do you mean? Why not? You wish you could come. He was like, nah, I'm trapped. And
Hmm.
I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, bro, I'm. This is what I do. I'm in this. I can't. I'm trapped. That was his exact words. And I used to think to myself, like, I was like, damn, like, I wonder why he felt like that. And I can't make this up. 3 years later, they found him in the field, drug deal gone bad. And that stuck with me so bad. Man, that hit crazy because he was showing self awareness to know that he was in a trap,
Right.
but he didn't know what to do to get out of it because it was just kind of already that was just kind of where he was at, and I hated that. I hate it to this day when anybody, even if someone's in the 9 to 5 trap, because you're gonna be
Right.
trapped in different ways,
Oh yeah.
and it just I hate when it's triggering whenever I hear somebody say that and so it's just you know but that's why you try to catch them before they get to that point.
Yeah.
You try to catch them third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade
Yeah.
before you,
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. You want to catch them, try to catch them as early as possible, man.
Yeah, because it's true. It's like you have the gang culture where you say like, oh, we got jumped in. The only way to get out is in a box,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, but then I also look at it like this. If you did like how you got up and moved,
Yeah.
there's people out there that you could have just, you gave them the door. Like,
Yeah.
come with me. Just don't tell nobody.
Right.
Don't tell nobody you're
We can
going
start
nowhere.
over here, bro. We can
It's
start
right.
over, bro.
Yeah. Change your name if you need
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
What's your name? My name's Albert.
yeah. All that.
Some name that sound nothing black. My
Yeah.
name's Albert. You know what I mean?
Go for it.
Albert White. You know,
Yeah.
ain't nobody looking for you. And
Yep.
but yeah, I think there's a fear. I think there's that how you say when you people are fear of you can't unlearn and then
Yeah.
relearn.
Yep. Yep.
People feel like I'm already this old. You know. But then I bring this back again. If you have, when people tell me, oh, I can't, you can't. Go back to COVID. The world stopped,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
everything you thought you couldn't do, it's like the world stopped. So don't tell me that you
Yep.
can't start over,
No.
you know?
And that was a man. I know so many people that recognized what that was while it was happening and was able to take advantage of it, and flip it on its head in a positive way. There was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of what's going on. This was the first time for many of, well, I ain't gonna say American history, but the first time many of us had even heard of a pandemic or like what this or experienced it. And I know people that took on 2 9 to 5s, stacked bread, flip that into crypto, flip that into a career. They played it or started a business.
Hmm.
What they say when everybody's afraid, that's when you should like really start to make moves and make plays. And then there was other people like myself who took it for granted. And I kept my job, but I played Madden all day because my friends wanted to
Oh,
do the
because
Madden tournament. They wanted to run the seasons, and I fell for that shit. And you know what I mean? And didn't really take advantage of it and wasn't as self aware as I should have been. And so when you look at kind of the situation now, there's a lot of uncertainty now. My wife works in the government space, so there's a lot of she's got like a front row seat to a lot of the stuff that's going on. It's kind of she's never really seen it before in this sector. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. And I'm trying to recall back to 20, I'm saying back to 2020 as if it was 100 years ago, but
yeah,
it feels like it.
it
But
does.
recall back to those times and be self-aware and not get caught up in the fear of what's next, the unknown, and try to be level-headed and make plays and still be on the offense. And try to get ahead of things. And so it's just interesting, man. It's interesting times. But you just got to remain level-headed.
I have to tell you, aside from the fact that, like I said, I like the show, but talking to you, it's very refreshing
Word.
because because you know we're both black men, and you said it yourself, like we are usually raised to not be in able to show like, oh, we make mistakes,
Right.
or you know what I mean? Like when you said, well, I could have done this, but I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
Most people won't even say that.
Yeah.
Most people want to use the blame game. Oh,
Of
well,
course.
it's because, and I was never that way. I was always like, I'm telling you the truth. Like that's how I started this. When COVID came, I was sitting in my room almost in tears. Like, what am I do? I'm looking at my kids. I'm going, what am I gonna do? And then 2022 is when I got struck with this neurological
Yep.
autoimmune. So I was like, I was pretty bad. And
Mm.
um and I couldn't figure out, I was in, my feelings were like, am I gonna live? I thought I was,
Right.
yeah, I didn't think I was gonna live. So
Yeah.
it's like my, like one side of my face was paralyzed. I couldn't really breathe. Um, man, I couldn't walk. I had to
Wow.
relearn to walk. So 2022, not only was I laid off from the COVID thing, when 2022 came, I couldn't even walk, so I couldn't work. And I'm telling you, we were like almost to the point of like, where are we gonna live? Like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
I still stuck to my shirts. Now, maybe I'll make, like I said, I'll make tons of money with that,
Right.
but
Right. Right.
I'd rather have said to my kids, look, I tried something that's in a positive way, ain't hurting nobody, ain't robbing
Yep.
nobody. And even if I fail, I still tried.
Yep.
That therefore I didn't fail, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Like everybody thinks that you if you don't make bread, that you're a failure.
Mm.
And to me, I had a conversation with a guy. I was talking to him because he said he started his own school. So I asked him, can I
Nice.
interview him? And he's known me for probably about 20 years, but we don't hang out in the same circles. So we kind of run into each other here and there, but not like personal sit there talking all day,
Yeah.
right? Well, we met up and he's telling me how he wrote curriculum and how he has a PhD. He's younger than me. And I'm like, wow. Here I was thinking like, there's no way I would ever get a PhD, but he did. And
Yeah.
right. And he's telling me, yeah, I started my school and it's a brick and mortar and blah, blah, blah. And here's the pitfalls. And he's giving me the game.
Nice.
Right. So I'm like, man, I'm so appreciative of you. And while I'm listening to him, my ideas came back to where it was like, it is possible.
It's just that quick, bro.
You know what I mean?
That's just that quick. That's how powerful it is. So imagine if somebody's hitting you with that and you're 10. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? The sky is the limit. Like it's not even the sky, bro. It's you're limitless.
Yes.
And man, and that's how important the circle is. Remember, I just said all my friends were like, "We cranking up this Madden, right?" And I fell for it. Sure, why not? What else am I going? If my friends were like, what if my friends were all like, "Yo, we all getting second jobs while we at home. We're gonna get a second work from home, and we're gonna stack these checks, and everybody in the group chat, we're gonna put it in one account. So then when the world comes back together, we're gonna buy a brick and mortar." What if my
Mm-hmm.
friends would have said that? I would have followed them to that. Again, I wasn't as headstrong enough to be the leader in it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just as the circle I would have followed. You know what I mean? And then it would have it might have changed the trajectory of X, Y, and Z. So that's why after in 2022, when I wanted to start the channel, just like you said, man, you try it. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, I know that I tried, I gave them my best and it didn't work. I have no control over whether something works or not, if people gravitate toward it or not. You know what I
Right.
mean? But if I never try it, then I'll live with regrets of wondering what if. And that I refuse to live with. I can't do that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I
Yeah.
can't go out like that. I'd rather try and fail 1,000 times than
Yeah.
to wonder, damn, man, I wonder if I would have tried, man, would I've been able to do X, Y, and Z. Now I can't do that, bro.
Yeah. Because somebody else will do it.
It bingo. Be,
Right.
do you know how many times back home, and I swear to you, after about the third time this happened, it started to piss me off. We would ride by and go, man, you know what'll go crazy right here? If they put a Popeyes right here on this street, yo, I think this would go crazy. And then 2 or 3 years later, somebody puts a Popeyes right there, and we all in line.
And you're
We're not
mad,
mad
right?
that we didn't come up with the idea. We're in line. We ordering. And then it happened again. It was like, yo, just on some random, just re-riding around. Yo, why isn't it a Chick-fil-A right here? Like it would with all these it would a Chick-fil-A would pop, and then Chick-fil-A comes 2 years later,
Mm-hmm.
and we in line. We're like, yeah, I
Yeah.
told you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The third time it happened, and now I'm pissed. Now I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, man. Like we ready to get in line. I'm like, wait a minute, y'all ain't tired of getting in line for this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why we didn't? Hey, hold on. Like, this the third time we done called something and the line is out the street, and this could have been us eating off the line out the street. Like that's when my mind started to shift. And that's when I figured I had to move. I was like, yeah, I gotta go. You know what I mean? Like it's time to move and try to get around like-minded people. But then even when I was in Atlanta and it was the pandemic, I'm still cool with my people back home. I'm still cool with my homies, and so I still can fall into I can still get too comfortable and fall into the trap of doing too much hobby stuff, and my brother passed away in 2019, and I've kind of so it's cool, man. My that has flipped a little bit of a switch to where I'm a little more the clock. Everybody says this. The clock starts to tick. You start to hear it, especially when something's unexpected. Right. And so now I try to move with a little bit more intentionality or whatnot. And so I try to stay consistent in that space. I used to come and go in and out of it.
Okay.
If I think about my brother, then my sense of urgency would go up. But then if, some time will pass and I kind of go back into my lull. My whole thing now is try to stay in that go mode, sense of urgency, foot on the gas. What are we doing? Let's go. You know what I mean? Not in like a stressful way, but just on some, like we want
with
things.
Intention.
Yeah. We want things. Let's move toward the things that, or the place that we're trying to be. That's all. You know what I mean? Not rat race type anxiety. Just let's move. Let's continue to move forward. And so I try to stay up there, because even my mom will be like, "Yo, you get too comfortable." I can see. My mom will call me out on it. I'm like, "Yeah, you right."
Yeah.
You right. So let me keep my foot on the gas, and that's what we've been doing with Culturalist Theory, man. And so far, the response has been great. So I take feedback from everybody. So when you're like, yo, I like when y'all do this, I always wonder, where's this at? Where I take feedback from. I love the feedback. Please, I read all the comments. Okay. You know what I mean? I'm here for all of that, because it helps the channel be better. And I want to do what people want to see.
Yeah, then it's good. It's good. Okay, so do you have a studio? Or do you go to a studio?
Man, so when we first started, so I produce out of a studio. I know a guy. I kind of look at it as a mentor. He has a studio space where they create content, podcasting, YouTube stuff. And so I was talking to him about the idea, and he was like, "Man, y'all can use the space here, bro. Just use it. Just start it." He just wanted us to start. Just start. He was, all right, cool. So that's what we did. We started, and if you go and look at some of our older videos, when we first started, we're in person, and we've got the tall monitor there next to us with the album covers, and I wanted it to kind of be like a 106 MTV type of vibe. Yeah. And so that's kind of where we started. Where it got tricky is that we would have to book the studio for 6 hours, and then we'd have to go in there and batch and record as many episodes as possible. We're reading off a teleprompter. We're drained. My throat hurt. I need, I done had 10 Halses and 3 teeth. Bro, you see what I'm saying? Bro, it became a little bit of a toll on us. And so what we were thinking was, okay, let's set something up to where it's a little bit more convenient, to where we can voice over the stuff. And number one, we can turn around the content faster, because I could just plug this up, read the script, edit it, and I can have it done in a day, as opposed to having to book a whole bunch of time and slots. But we'll balance that out, because I don't want the Watch Mojo thing. We'll balance that out with lives. We'll balance that out with, reels and stuff where we're still showing our face and people still know who's behind it, and different pieces of content. So they still get that. They still know who it is, because I don't want it to be faceless. Okay. And so we record out of the crew when we do like lives and reactions and stuff. That's me and Q listening to music out of the crib. We're doing a series right now where I'm playing a lot of some of the golden era music for her for the first time. She's younger than me. And plus she's a so she wasn't 12 riding along to Machiavelli. And so it's cool playing Machiavelli to her for the first time. as an
That's
adult.
cool.
And so to kind of get that reaction, so that's kind of what we're doing to balance out the list and the countdowns and stuff, so people still know it's us and
Yeah,
whatever. I know I'm going on a tangent, but I could talk about the
it's all
show all
good.
day.
It's all good. I'm telling you, I made sure I was like, I was laying on the floor all night, sleep, just kept tea and
Yeah,
there's these ginger chews, and I was
yeah,
like, sleep, sleep. I set my alarm. I was like, okay, get up, make sure I send them the Zoom link, go
sure.
back to sleep. And I was like, all right, set my alarm for 5 a.m., get up, take a real hot shower with the steam.
Yeah,
I was like, because I'm telling you, I was looking forward to this. And I was like,
appreciate it, man.
yeah, because there are people, so my son, he's an actor, but
Nice.
he works or worked with uh what's it, Disney Pixar cars
Okay.
for about 5 years, and then he worked for like NASCAR and stuff like that, and he does a lot of commercials. So for me to be like his manager, I guess,
Sure.
when I go with him, I see the behind the scenes, but it's not even that. It's because when in music you kind of see it the same way,
Hmm.
but the people from action to cut,
Yep.
you could see personalities and
Yep.
change. And I'm telling you the truth. Like when I see you guys, I'm like, I really feel like I can sit here and talk to you because you don't come across as phony at all.
I
And
appreciate that.
yeah, and I'd rather I'll put my attention on that
Yeah.
than on some glossy. You know what I mean? Because I could
Yeah.
go, I've gone to the Grammys, I've been around these people, and I'm like, man, I leave and I'm like, man, these people are assholes. And
Yep.
it's, you know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so whatever you do, you're doing, stick with it because it's authentic.
I, I appreciate that, and that man, I love, I appreciate that. Number one, and two, that we did that on purpose. Like we're like, yo, let's just be our, you know what I mean? Like let's just be ourselves. We don't have to put on this voice. We don't have to put on. I don't have to dye my beard green. I don't have to. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I don't
Yeah.
want to do any of that. The stick stuff.
Yeah.
Like let's try this because I feel the same way when I watch content. I gravitate toward people who I feel like are authentic. Whether I agree with them or not, they're being themselves and they're not putting on. And I
Hmm.
feel like if I ran into them in the street, they would be the same way. And that is important to me as a consumer and as a viewer. And so we consciously did that when we make content. And it just, because I feel it resonates. And so just for you to say that, it again, I take all the feedback, and so man, I appreciate that it's kind of cutting through. It's being communicated. Man, I appreciate that. I
No,
appreciate that for
thank
real.
you. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna tell you, so go back to the Snoop thing, but
Yeah,
like I actually had an episode. It was just my one of my friends. We were on the Zoom, but we were just joking around. I never put it out. It just didn't come. It didn't come. It didn't. The result wasn't what I wanted.
yeah.
But we were reviewing. So my one of my friends, the one I had on there, he's a diehard. I'm talking diehard Eminem fan, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, let's review his career and let's see if it just to see if it matches what the world sees,
Mm,
and then we're gonna be able to see if the sales and all that stuff, like how you said with the UMG thing, like
of course.
how much of that is the Great White Hope, how much of that
Absolutely.
is right, and I went down for lyricism first.
Sure.
I went down with like how like the Kanye, like the shock value, how
Sure.
much of that, and then I started thinking like how much of it is really authentic,
Yeah.
and I like Eminem, but it is true. I don't know who said it, but there was someone said, how many black people do you see driving down the road bumping Eminem?
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's not. Yeah.
You
No.
don't.
You don't.
So now if he's on a song with somebody, that's different,
Yeah. Sure.
right? So what was it? Dre's Compton album.
Yep.
Eminem's on there. I like that song.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it, and this guy, his name's Manny. So he's like again, like Eminem is like a god to him.
Yeah.
And I was criticizing him because I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if he came out with something after he went to rehab and then he came out with this thing and he was very authentic about, crying and wanted to hurt himself
Mm-hmm.
and having regret. And I started thinking we need a black person like that
Yeah.
because we don't
No.
really have, you could say, oh, Jay-Z talked about cheating on Beyonce, but
Yeah.
most people don't have a Beyonce. You're
Yeah, that's
not a,
number one.
you know what I
It's
mean?
unrelatable.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's usually if you stray, it's like they have money. You can't really connect with that,
Right.
right? So when we were talking about it, I was like, yeah, I think he has like maybe three good albums.
Yeah.
And he lit into me.
Of course. Oh yeah, no, the Eminem fan base is, yeah, they're passionate about that for
Like the
sure.
Taylor Swift type of thing, right?
Facts.
You know? So that jumped over to Snoop. And
Yeah.
I said, so I just want to get your opinion. I
Yeah.
said, I think Snoop, if you took all of his albums, you can make one solid album out of all of his albums. That's how many
Mm,
songs I think he really doesn't have. I think
mm,
he has good songs, but he's to me, a feature artist,
okay.
better than just by himself.
Now that's fair, and I feel like whenever you have a discography where you have he has a discography that's like 20 albums deep, literally,
Hmm.
and there's a clear number one, like it's not even a debate,
Right.
and then there's everything else. It's like there's like a 19-way tie for number two.
Right.
It's kind of like you have a point. Now I could pick an album or two post Doggy Style that I like, but I wouldn't argue somebody down if they were like, yeah, it's a couple of joints on that. Like I wouldn't argue you down about that. I'd be like, that's fair.
Mhm.
Like I personally like Last Meal a lot, but again, he has a clear number one. And when you have 20 projects, even with Eminem, I like three or four. I like
Yeah.
the first three, and then maybe there's one, I don't know, maybe one or the other. So three and a possible, maybe four. But those are interchangeable. Like you could honestly say Eminem Show or a Slim Shady LP. I could see someone liking it's Doggy Style and it's everything else.
Else, yes.
Like
Right.
let's be honest. Sure, I like Last Meal, maybe, and then maybe the one with Beautiful on it or whatever, Blue
Oh, okay.
Carpet
Yeah.
Treatment
Later
or
on.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that era, but it's a lot of quantity and the quality isn't it doesn't match up to the quantity. I'm not saying it's trash, but I'm just
No.
saying it doesn't stand out like what you just said. So yeah, I agree. You take one song from all 20 of his albums, and then yeah, you'd have a fire classic LP for sure. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's fair. And I do think Eminem is a little. I think Eminem has been bad longer than he's been good at this
Hmm.
point.
Hmm.
And and maybe to not even his not no fault of his own, because I do believe Eminem is a student of the game and he's always led with that. So I've always respected that about him.
Yeah.
It's the publications and the other things that have crowned him. He's never really necessarily crowned himself.
Right.
You know what I mean? He never said I'm the king of rap. He's never really said that.
That's why I like him.
Yeah, that's what I respect. I've always respected that about him. He always big ups OGs that came, but he has made it a point to do that. You could tell he listened to rap growing up. Like you could
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, the first three I thought were dope, and then he went through
Yeah. It just,
right, it fell off a cliff. And
yeah.
then maybe one of the newer ones somewhere sprinkled in, whatever. And then he's still nice though, but just a whole body of work, I'm cool.
Yeah. So the reason why I ask you that is because I have an issue with other black, like this new, can't say new now because the trap music and all that stuff has been
Yeah,
over a decade now, but they tend to not give credit to the OGs,
I agree.
right?
I
And they're
agree. I hate
black,
that.
right? They're black.
I
Yet
hate that.
this guy that you're beating up all the time about the Great White Hope
Yeah,
gave credit.
facts.
His number one person was Redman.
Yep.
And you
And
know
he's
what I'm
he's
saying?
always said that.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
so to me, I think that there's something wrong with hip hop in general, because you could say people say like Black Thought, oh yeah, he's great. Yeah, he is in his lane.
Yep.
Um, but there's just too much uh like pandering to
Yeah.
to it. And I don't understand. So like when you have your show, would you ever think of like having a guest on that's in the music field, but they're not necessarily like big, but you could tell like they're a student of the game kind of thing. And
Yeah, I mean, like we've played around with a couple of concepts to where because we want to get some of the unsung heroes in the game. We would love to talk to like writers. We would love
Mhm,
to talk to producers. We would love to rap with video directors. We would love to because we want to also show people there's more than one way to kind of get in the business.
mhm.
And also they have really good ass stories. Like
Yeah.
and they don't get talked about enough. And so those are kind of the people like we all know the big names and all that, and that's cool and that's great. I'm not turning down a Jay-Z interview, but I'm saying if we can get a writer or a producer or an engineer, that's what put me on the very first podcast I ever heard was Combat Jack. Rest in peace to Combat
Mm,
Jack. And he was
yeah.
interviewing Young Guru, which is Jay-Z's engineer.
Yep. And he's
And
dope.
I was listening as if I was in the room with them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm 2,000 miles away. It was incredible. He had all the dope stories, the making of this, how this came about. This beat almost went to this, and I've been in love with podcasting ever since. So I want people to get that feeling with and Guru's not a household name. Like, if you know, you know, but he's not a
Yeah.
household name.
No, but if you exactly if you I see like how you say you like you say like Snoop or you like um I forgot the other person you said you like.
Him or like
Was it
Drake or
him?
whatever.
Yeah, Drake. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
So when you said that, that's how I was with Jay-Z. Now,
Hmm.
because I felt like I've heard many styles of Jay-Z. I've seen the evolution of him. And so when I listen to Guru as a producer myself, I'm the guy. So I'm like, again, I'm dating myself, but I'm back in the days where you had the actual physical copy of something.
Absolutely.
So I would look at who produced it,
Yep.
who was the engineer,
Yep.
who mixed that, and I'm God is my witness. I would go to these studios
Hmm.
and just so I could hope that I could run into someone
Yep.
to talk to them because it was like, how do you do this? How did you do this? And when I would produce in my other room, I would produce with the thought that Quincy Jones was on the other side of my wall
Yep.
and he
Yep.
was listening. So I'd be like, okay, I got to make sure this is, this is good. And
Yep.
and so when I listen to those stories, just like you, it's like you feel like you're there, like wow, this is,
Yeah.
and it's the human factor.
Yep.
That's what I would call you. You have the human factor.
That's real. I like that. I like that. And those type of stories, man, like you said, with some of the younger cats, you can tell they're not familiar, bro. You can tell they're not students of the game. It's a hustle. You can always see it. You can pinpoint it. And that's not I'm not to knock anyone because I feel like it's I could argue it there's a responsibility with the people that came before them or that raised them to put them on the stuff and to stress the importance of the history. So I don't know maybe if that was there or present or not. But bro, I like those stories, man. Like that's just like you said. I read the magazines, bro. I opened the CDs and read the liner notes. That's my era of consuming music, and that's all but gone at this point, or it's
Yeah,
unappreciated. And so I would love to speak with those people who could give those stories and insights. And plus, they don't get enough recognition. Like no one,
that's
like you
right.
just said, you waited outside to holler at them, but nobody else is trying to reach out to them and talk to them.
Hmm.
And that's a shame because they're like the lifeline to all of this stuff.
That's right.
So it's so to answer your question, the long ass story short, yes, we would definitely be looking to speak to those, and we're implementing a couple of situations. I try to take one thing at a time, even though I got like 8 things in my head that I would love to start yesterday. I understand it's not realistic. And so we try to take one thing at a time, but guests are definitely on the docket for 2025 though, for sure.
Cool. Now, I can tell you as a producer, um, there's so many like you think about so when you say young guru, I was thinking about guru with Gangstar.
Yep. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
So back when I rapped, everybody would tell me, "Oh, that's your guy, huh? Because you're very monotone. You sound like him." And I was like, I actually was offended because I was like, "Really? I sound like him? I'm monotone?" And then it made me like try to throw
Yeah.
my voice and all this, you know.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I was like, "Man, I'm honored that somebody thinks
Facts.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean?"
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So because I think that's what's missing. There is no and this may sound weird too, but there is no channel where it's because I watch like a lot of documentaries. So you have
Mhm.
like George Michael, he was one of my like the people that I really like as a singer and a
Mhm.
writer and a producer. And his engineer, this is again way back. I remember I saw his name and then I started trying to find this is before internet stuff. And I was trying
Mhm.
to find all the things this man produced just so I can hear how he mixed things and how,
Yep.
like the sounds. I remember the first time I was in a studio and it was a big studio in Sony and it had this, I was doing a voiceover there for some short film. And the studio had speakers like all the way around the wall.
Yeah.
And one of the effects, it was like a plane and it went boom, and the
Yeah.
sound went around me and I got chills. And I was like, oh, you could do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
That opens up the creativity,
Facts.
right? Versus today, everybody is the same thing, the
Yep.
same. There's certain artists that I feel like you could play one track and all their songs can go through it.
We can run through together. Yeah. And you won't know the beginning or the end of another one.
Yeah, I don't
Yep.
like that. That
Yeah.
I don't like that because to me, the creativity, you don't have to be crazy, but the
Right.
creativity is you are willing to try. You're
Yep.
willing to, and some people just are not that creative, but
Yeah, I agree. And plus they don't want to take risk. They see something that works and they double, triple down on it. And it's like not then you get stuck in it and it's like it gets old quick. And then you're here today, you're gone tomorrow.
yeah,
And that's a shame too, man. Things can I can certainly understand that perspective, man. Things can sound very familiar, very too similar. And that's what happens when you have the internet has opened up the game to where so many people have access to making music and so many people can get through that people are copying other people because it was successful and they might put a really small spin on it. It's just enough to where they don't sound exactly like the next person, but you can tell where the influence was. And it kind of dilutes the creativity, man. People just kind of cut, copy, paste so they can get
yeah.
on. And it's kind of like, there was a filter before. Because if you go back and you listen to if you listen to Nelly before
Mhm.
he was Nelly, they were rapping like cats from New York.
Oh, the Saint Lunatics.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
before we heard Country Grammar,
Right.
find like an old underground Nelly song. They didn't sound like that. It took
Hmm.
them a minute to find their own sound because they
Right.
were influenced by what they were fans of.
Right.
So that's natural. But before you had to figure it out before you could break through. Now you could just upload it on SoundCloud or whatever the streaming site is. And if you have a jarring video with some crazy imagery, then that's enough. And then now you're in the zeitgeist now. Now you're on TikTok. Now you're blah 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 blah. And it's I don't want to say it's too easy, but I mean, but it's kind of too easy. And so
It
that
is.
it lets a lot of people through, man. And so it kind of dilutes the product in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. I agree
That's
with
the
you.
thing.
Now, you said her name's Q.
Yeah,
The
so Q Kiana, I call her Q. That's my partner. That's the one who does the show with me. Yeah.
So what does she like once she said, how can I help? Um, like where did it go from there? Like was she like what was the I guess the help? Like what was
Sure.
the part of her recipe?
That's a great question. So my initial thought was I'm gonna take these hip hop artists and I'm going to rank their discographies. And I'm super deep in rap. You know what I mean? But I didn't want it to only be that. I wanted lists based in R&B. I wanted lists based in actors, TV shows, directors. I want like these different pillars of culture I wanted
Hmm.
to cover. And so I needed help with that. I needed help writing. I needed help organizing and implementing. And that's where she came along. I was like, yo, I'm knocking out these 10 rappers. Can you do list on these 10 R&B acts? Because I've always wanted a balance. And
Okay.
she was like, cool. And that was it. First thing she did, I think the first list she did was Rihanna and then Brandy and then the Monicas and kind of that era right there and the Beyoncés and all that good stuff. So she was able to add the content piece of here's the balance to what you're doing and so that we can diversify the content. Same way we just talked about Looper Watch Mojo. It may be a director ranking and then it may be, snacks that no longer exist. Whatever,
Right,
whatever their
right,
pillars are. I
right.
needed help filling out the pillars that I wanted this channel to be, and that's what she was able to help with immediately.
Okay. So she's a music person as well. Like she's
Yeah, no, she's big into music. She's big into TV, pretty big into film, and so it's like she was like, "Huh, this is who I'm familiar with, and this is what I can do." And that's the thing. I've always been, and when we grew out the team, because we have a couple of writers too, because I don't know everything. You know what I mean? Nobody knows everything.
right.
I grew up in a certain region. I had some stuff hit my radar, some stuff didn't. And so for the things that didn't hit my radar, I needed someone who could be able to put something together so that we can talk to those fans too. I wasn't big on Wu-Tang growing up. I missed the wave. But I want
Oh,
I want Wu-Tang lists though, so people can watch the list. You know what I mean? So we would hire people that would write for us and take care of those lists and stuff. So that's I say that to say I told her whatever you're comfortable with, what lane you're in, what's your bag. Cool, right on that. Like I don't want anything outside of that. I want this to be as authentic as possible. Like whatever your taste level is, that's what you stick to. Because if you don't, then it's going to be biased.
I see.
You know what I mean? And that's another reason why. Like we have a Drake list, but I didn't write it because if it
Oh,
was
because you would
me,
be too. Yeah, I get you.
I'd have a 10-way tie number one. Like it would come
Yeah,
off too biased and it wouldn't be objective. And so that was the goal of the channel. I want these lists to be objective as possible. Obviously, you're not going to please everyone. I learned that very early on. But I feel like there's like a quadrant of like taste mixed with like the artist making their album. Like there's the best version of the artist, there's the worst version of the artist, and then there's the experimental project from the artist.
yeah. Okay.
And if I have a taste for that artist, I can tell their best version of themselves and their worst version of themselves, and I can rank them accordingly, without being biased. So that's kind of the formula, so to speak, that we use. I
Hmm.
know that was a long ass answer, but we do this shit intentionally, man. Like I promise you, like we take things into consideration. We take what the culture has reacted to into consideration, mixed with our opinions, mixed with, just we try to take everything into consideration to make a fair list. And unlike, because I saw lists like what Rolling Stone would do, or like
Yeah,
what Complex
whack.
would do, and it was clear that they were trying to get a reaction. And I was like,
Right.
man, like, bro, it's corny. I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
because the
so
list isn't even real.
it's not.
It's
That's what I'm. It's like no one
yeah.
thinks like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was around. I was outside. No one
Hmm.
thinks like this right here. Like no one.
Yeah.
So it's not about disagreeing, and we get this feedback all the time. Yo, I disagree with that number one, but I understand why you would say that.
Mhm.
Cool. That's all. It's
That's
not.
what
They
you
know it's
want.
not a troll. They know we're not reaching. They know we're not trying to get engagement. Because I can tell you why I feel this or why this should be number one or number two or whatever the placement is. It's not just we're here to shock people and get people to say, "What the? Why would you do that?" That's corny, man, and that stuff
Yeah.
doesn't last to me. It's not sustainable.
Yeah. It's true. And so like on your, I don't know if this is if you guys have this in your repertoire yet, but so like I have a thing where uh I think I don't put it out because again, my show isn't really, although my whole life is music, but I don't feel like I have the audience for that because mine's more like I'm trying to like help people and
Sure.
but I love this. Like this
Yeah.
is my life, right?
Yeah.
But when I think like there should be a list of are they really legends? Because I think that
Mm,
I think that they give these people, and I'm not saying Kendrick isn't great, but I don't see that uh certain people are considered legends just because they're in the public eye.
right. Right.
You know what I mean? And then you have these people that are like you said, like the unsung. You
Yeah.
have like the SWV
Yeah.
where they can actually sing
Yeah.
compared to
Facts.
people
This is what
today,
voices for sure.
right? Compared to today,
Yeah.
everybody's auto-tuned
Auto-tune.
and it,
Yeah.
right? So it's like what I know they're older, but it's
Yep.
like why don't they get the recognition?
Yep.
And to me, I have two thoughts. The black side of me says if you put too many real authentic black uh, singers up against any other white singer, the white
Yeah.
singer goes away.
Yeah.
So they have to
Good point.
kind of like
Suppress
suppress
them.
them. Yeah. And then I also say on the other side of that, you could take a Kelly Clarkson and she could sing black songs and sound black,
Yeah.
right? But if you listen to the average white, I'm going with females right now,
Sure.
average
Yeah.
white female that you say is in top five, and then you give it to a black female singer, you
Yeah.
wouldn't even remember the white,
Yeah. We know what's gonna happen with that. Yeah. No.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that that is part of the problem
It's a good
where,
point.
like it's like, wait, and then my brain starts going, well, just look at history. You had rock and roll came from blacks, but they made it white. Country was black, they made it
Yep.
white, right? Um, you have hip hop. They, to me, I felt like there was this maybe about 8 years ago, they were trying to squash the black greats
Yeah.
and push the white ones.
Yep.
And I really don't understand. Like, why can't we just have music and it's just music? And if they're white, black, green, whatever, who cares? If they're
Yeah.
good, if they're good. But if they're not, they're not.
Right.
And you know, so like when you said like you didn't grow up with like Wu-Tang, I actually saw Wu-Tang out here at a club on Cahuenga. It was in Hollywood, and
Mm.
they weren't known yet.
Oh,
And
word.
yeah, and Ghostface had a white sheet on with like a cut in the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was crazy. My
Yeah.
friend John and I, we were there, and we didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
And we were like, man, these guys look like they're on crack or something. I mean, they
Yeah.
were like just all over the place.
Yeah.
And but see, now me, I think they're a great group, but if you look at their discography, I don't think it's that great.
Right.
I,
Right. Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
You
I've heard
know?
that before. But again,
Oh,
they
okay.
got stands too. I know they got fans, and I get it. But it like you're 100% right, and we've tried our best to balance out because we have a SWV list. You know what I mean? We have the TLCs all the way
I saw
down to
that.
lettuces, like talented vocalists that don't get the recognition, and we get all the time that I watch. Like we have people that will watch the list just because we posted the artist, whether they're familiar with them or not, just to hear like because they can pull a couple of joints, maybe make a playlist, maybe get put on to something new.
Mm,
So we get that effect, which is cool. I love hearing that. Like, or maybe they've heard SWV, they've heard the big records, right? The singles,
right.
but we're highlighting the B sides on some of their joints, and they're like, "Yo, I went and listened to that after y'all said it, and like, yo, this shit is fire. Like now I'm getting put on to something from '98, and we
Yeah,
in
that's nice.
2025, like." And that, so we want to bridge that gap, man. So whether it's someone who is maybe a little bit younger, that maybe discovered our channel because we did a list on Future, or if it's somebody who's from that era and they just are, getting those nostalgic feelings back because they haven't heard it in a while. We're trying to capture those and bridge that gap. And you know, so far through the feedback, man, it's working, and so it's cool. But that's important, like you said, unsung heroes. But I never thought about that whole like why they get suppressed. So that hey man, you on to something with that.
Well, because it's just I keep seeing patterns, and
Yep.
it's just kind of like, so for example, I've noticed they keep pushing this Taylor Swift beat Michael Jackson. Um,
Mm.
but to me, why? Why is it, first of all, it's not even a fair playing field. He's
Yeah, because
dead.
streaming. Yeah,
What, right. He's dead, number one. Number
that's number
two,
one. Yeah,
right? So you can't even put, she wasn't in his era.
that
So that, like, right?
right.
The music isn't even the same. Like,
No,
pop, you call her pop, but it's not, I don't think she's not a singer, in my opinion.
right.
Um, then you get this thing where it's like, oh, she broke all these records for the like the live show and the da da da. And I'm like, if you look at his numbers without social media, without, like you said, without the streaming, without this constant in your face, this
Yep.
was in the era of, oh shoot, I gotta be home at 8:30 because that video is coming on.
Yep.
That's when you go, even, and then I saw it again with the Kendrick Lamar. I noticed that it was Michael Jackson gets beaten by Kendrick Lamar by point 0.1 in viewers.
Why is that news, dog? Like,
And I'm like, that doesn't make sense because when, again, when he did that show, there was over 1 billion people that watched that
yep.
worldwide.
Yep.
So they can't do that. So what did they do? They said, well, the American audience, you had the
Mm.
130, you see what I'm saying?
Oh, they only counted the yeah. See,
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's not fair. Like to
yeah,
me,
nah.
and that's not me just rallying for Michael. It's just in general. Like you, I think you whitewash the music that is authentic
Hmm.
because they don't want us as heroes.
That's a good point, bro. And these are numbers, these are facts that you're talking. It's not, this isn't speculation, like you
Yeah,
just
that's what I'm
said.
saying.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
not trying to be conspiracy guy. I'm just trying
Right.
to, it's like it's just in my face.
Yep.
And I look at this stuff and I'm like, this is crazy. Like,
Yep.
why? And then you start to think, okay, media company, their job is to sell, media.
Yep.
And there should be okay, so when I was growing up, there was this guy, his name was Walter Cronkite.
Yep.
He was a, oh, you know who he is? Okay.
Hmm.
He was credited always because he was honest and he was telling the truth. And even though people didn't like it, he gave you the real story,
Hmm.
right? And that's what I think is gone
Yeah.
in media. It's gone. And that's why I keep coming back to you. It's like you're saying something that even if you like these people, you're able to say, oh, that album just wasn't
Yeah, that wasn't
the
it.
thing. Yeah.
You got to be able to say that, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
bro, you can't be delusional. You got to be able to say it. If I'm a fan, and we'll get this in the comments, and this is where taste level comes in. If I'm a fan, if I claim to be a Jay-Z fan, right?
Hmm.
I can't make a list and Blueprint is last. Like that just doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
If I'm a fan like I claim to be, that just that doesn't make sense. But people that know, if you are again, if you're a Jay fan, you know which album or albums were the ones that were kind of like you
Yeah.
know this.
Right.
It's not a hot take. Like you're
Right.
not. No one's gonna jump on. You can't jump online and
La
be like,
Familia.
"What?" Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you just, it's okay, and it's oh, I need it to be okay. I need you to be
Yeah.
okay. That it's okay. It's not the end of the world. No one's saying that they're trash. Their legacy is garbage. No one's trying to run them through the mud. We're just being objective and honest and level-headed. And I want more of that. And I'm
Mhm.
hoping that somehow people pick up on that and they adapt that in their own thought process, and maybe we see some type of change. People don't jump out of windows just off the whims for random stuff, and they think critically and level-headed, man, because that I feel like that has jumped the shark, bro. Like it ain't we're seeing less and less of that, and it's killing me. And so we try to keep that in here. We could go hot take central because that's what everybody wants to do. Everybody wants to go hot take and scream and yell, and say
Yeah,
stuff they don't
don't.
necessarily believe. And That's too much
Yeah,
to keep
don't.
up with, man. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah. So like when you guys have your writers,
Yep.
like are these people like you hire them uh uh through like advertising, or is it just you just happen to run into people, or
Man,
because
we put out a call for writers. Once me and Q saw that, okay, it's a lot for us. And then plus, like I said, we wanted to hit different artists in different regions and different this and that. So we put out we just kind of put out on YouTube like a little community post, like, hey, we're looking for writers. If you're interested, fill out this Google form or whatever it was that we had set up. And so we had to vet people.
Mhm.
And so we went through like a little bit of a process. Long story short, we've got one, two, three. We've got three right now, and maybe one or two have kind of come and gone. But right now we're at three, and so we just and we have our monthly meetings or whatever the case may be. And that one of them is a little bit younger, one of them is a little bit older, one of them is more like West Coast centric, one of them is more East Coast centric. Like I want to cover all, but one of them is more movie centric. And so
Okay.
like that's kind of the whole like point, so to speak. We want to have a well balanced channel. We can't hit everyone, but we want to have a balanced channel to where you can watch a list and be like, that person knows what the hell they're talking about. I may not agree, but they know what they're talking about. Because I think that's a really big difference. Like you,
Yeah.
like I don't want. We can disagree all day. I don't want people to look at our videos and be like, man, who in the hell said this? They obviously didn't know what they were talking. They obviously weren't around. They weren't outside. They weren't. I don't want that. I don't care if you disagree or not. That doesn't bother me at all. It's the fact, and people, and you'll still get some people. Like I said, I grew up in the South. I was big on No Limit, and one of our first lists to kind of get traction was I took 1998 was a really big year for No Limit. They released 23 albums.
Damn, I didn't know
Insane.
that.
Yeah, 23 out. It was their biggest year. 10 of them went platinum, 7 of them went gold. Like it was a really big moment, and we'll never
Wow.
see it ever again. I always thought it would be cool to take those 23 albums and rank them from worst to first. For the record, I bought all 23 of them back in the day. Like that's how serious
Okay.
it was.
Okay.
That was our first list to go like crazy because I feel like that's an untapped fan base that doesn't really get talked to a lot. So when they see the content, they consume it and they're like, "Oh, I'm telling you, bro, Todd, I walked to the record store for all 23 albums,
That's dope.
all 23 with the non-skip disc man I got for Christmas.
Right.
Spun
Right.
them like
When we
listen to
had
them
record stores.
exactly. I spun those records like crazy. I know them inside out.
Mhm.
And someone will still make a comment that says, "You obviously are too young for this. You didn't hear it." And so you'll still get one or two of those just because they disagreed. But
Right.
most people that watch it can read in between the lines and see that, oh, okay, this person was around. They get it. I just personally think, this album is better than the one he said. And that's different. But I'll still get people that think I'm younger than what I am, and they'll be like, "This is why everybody doesn't need a microphone because
Uh,
you get
uh,
that." And
yeah, yeah.
but bro, I get people thinking I'm 20. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I got great. What are
No,
you
you look
talking
you,
about?
you look young though, even with the gray.
I
I'm old,
appreciate
man.
that.
But I'm
Listen, man, it's funny, man. So opinions and you'll still get somebody that thinks they know everything, and that's not the community that we're trying to build. We're trying to build a community of people who understand other people's perspectives, but also have their own. So it's just that's it, man. It's fun, man. I have a lot of fun with it. It took me a minute to get over the comments. At first, I was like, man, hold on, that got me fucked up. But then I was like, I see what's going on. Somebody will say something wild, and you'll write back, and they'll be like, but no, I didn't mean that. And it's like, oh, okay, never
oh,
mind.
so you'll respond to them.
Yeah, oh yeah. Especially early on, we responded to literally every comment. Now we can't do that as much. We respond to a lot of them, but we can't do every one. And someone will say something and they'll be out of pocket, or they'll be like, this is the one that kills me. they'll be like, "Yo, this is the worst list I've ever seen in my life," and I will write back and be like, "Okay, cool. What would you change?" And they'll swap one thing, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's
bro,
kind of stupid, right?
yeah,
You
it's like,
shouldn't
oh,
just
so
keep
you're
your
just you just were saying that to be
yeah to
extra.
get a reaction. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
exactly, and it worked. You got me. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Or people will be like, "But I love the channel, bro. Hey, can you do so and so next?" You know, this is the worst list they've ever seen, but they got a
What you
recommendation now
want you to
because I
do?
said
Yeah,
so. That's when I learned, like, oh, okay, I take it with a grain of salt. We'll do focus groups. We'll give people the opportunity to give us feedback. And those are the ones that I'll take more into consideration because they'll fill out the form. And we've done Zooms one-on-one with people who consume the channel to get feedback from the listeners. Those are the ones that are giving real legitimate takes and answers. And so that's cool. You know what I mean? You got to weed out the ones that are just trying to get you to react.
yeah. No, I'm gonna wind it down
For sure.
with this question. So you know how you said Q said, "How can I help?"
Yeah.
So once you got the writers and all this stuff, because obviously most people are gonna say like, "Well, how do I get paid?" and this
Right.
and that. Um, when you did this, was it a matter of like you get funding, or was it a? Because I know YouTube doesn't pay that much, but like
Right.
when you do you get funding to do this, or was this something that you're saying like if it's a labor of love and you're gonna ride with us kind of
Yep.
thing?
No, no, no. People, our writers get paid. I believe in not wasting time is money, man. And for people to take time out of their day to listen to these projects, to write scripts, to do, but no, you're gonna get some bread. Like we ain't doing that.
Okay,
Like,
so you
I
that's real.
yeah, no, I can't. I respect people's time too much, bro. Like, I get it. And then plus it's bills, the eggs, $10, bro. Like, no, 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 no. Now I can't promise you finna get rich off the writing, but trust me. Shout out to Cam, Simon, and my guy T Bex. That's the team right now. They've been with us for a while, and we had a trial run with every one of them to where we need to see if we're a fit. So the first 90 days, there was no, and we told them we was like, bro, for the first 90 days, there won't be any pay, but we have to see if we're
Oh,
a fit.
okay,
We got
okay.
to see it. And we got to see people's level of dedication. And all three of these individuals were doing stuff like this on their own anyway.
Mm,
Like they were already committed. Same thing, we were already doing similar stuff on our own, like
right,
because we give a damn, right?
got you.
So those are the best types of people because they were already in. This is in us. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like it's not a job; it's in
yeah,
us.
that's like this thing. Yeah,
Bingo.
yeah,
So I say that to say once we got past that period, then we negotiate a rate that we can afford, and it's up, and that they feel like it's worth their time, and it's cool. They've been with us ever since. My goal with or me and Q's, I say my because it's me standing right here, but whenever I say that, I'm talking. It's me and Q. It's the company
okay.
period.
Yeah.
We want people to have an opportunity to make a career out of being a fan, and so
Mhm.
the second a bag comes in, the second the check comes through, they will be taken care. I'm trying to get it to where they can do this full time if they want to.
Right.
That's my goal, and we can make a career out of being a fan of the art and the culture, bro. Like if we can get 20, 30, 40 people jobs, careers like that, bro, that would mean everything to us. So
Yeah,
that's
because that also helps you when you said about your community centers and
bingo.
and here I'm gonna tell you this, and I hope this don't sound funny, but
It's all good.
like this is one of the main reasons why I keep saying thank you because I don't have budgets. I'm on my own. So
Yep.
like I had like Keith Murray is probably one of my top rappers, right?
Yo,
And I've talked to him, we've met each other, all this.
nice.
And he'll talk to me. But one day I said to him, "Would you come on my show?" And he said, "What's my pay?" And I said, If I met you in the grocery store and
Right.
we just started talking, are you going to ask me for money?"
Right.
Like I honestly, because he said, "Well, you're going to profit off of my story." And I said, "That's not my show. I don't want to profit off of your story. I want to get to know you
Right.
so that as of who you are. Because like I know who you are on your show, but I don't know who you are. And
Right.
I think when the people see that you're a normal person, but you have aspirations and you talk about how you started and the struggle
Yeah.
and what have you, to me, I think it all it can do is bring more people to you.
Exactly.
right?
Bingo.
So that's why I always say thank you to people. And then for me, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna promote you and what have you. And I'm
Yeah.
proud. I'm proud that I took the chance to ask. But
Yeah.
when he said it, it turned me off because I
Yeah.
was like, man.
Mhm.
So I left it alone.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And then I went the right way. I said, okay, well, who's your manager? And he didn't give me one. I have a documentary I did with for Deaf Squad,
Okay.
right? And I spoke to Eric Sermon's manager. I spoke to Redman, Do It All, and I try to get these people to like connect me,
Yeah.
right? And then if they say to me, "Hey, we need 10 grand," well, then I know what my mission is.
Sure. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just to have a conversation, I'm like, how much do you want? You know? Oh,
Yeah.
well, you gotta give me at least 1,500.
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, that's like, you're asking me for $750 an hour
Yeah.
to talk to you,
Yeah.
right? And that kind of turned me off.
Yeah. It would have turned me off too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So with that, I, I honestly, from my heart, like I appreciate you. Um,
Thank you,
your
bro.
time and the stories. And if you ever want to come on here again, just tell me. You could email me. You got my number.
For sure.
Yeah, you're one of them people that I'm telling you the truth. Like I could see you somewhere and it's like as if I've known you,
That's real.
you
I
know,
appreciate that, man. I appreciate the opportunity. Again, like I said, I respect people's time, man. And so you could be rapping with any damn body, but I appreciate you peeping the content. Thank you for again. I say I thank you for the feedback. Um, I love what you're doing, man. I love the school concept too. Please don't give up on that, bro. Like we need that outside, man. So we could be going in the same direction at the same time, man. We're gonna be cutting ribbons on our properties in no time, bro.
yeah, yeah. And
Real.
I'll be the first one to call you and be like,
That's
hey
right.
man, this happened for me. I want to know if you want to be a part of this because
Yeah,
I'm telling you everything you said. So there's some things that you said that like stuck to me. You said your brother passed.
yeah.
My sister passed in 2003
Mm,
and she was 37. So for me, I went through this guilt for years.
yeah.
Like she was all about church and this and that. And I'm like, why? Why does she suffer and I'm here?
Right. Right.
Um, I didn't understand all this stuff. I put that into my channel. You know,
Nice. Yeah.
is I try to save people if I can by just being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I use this, and it's not to be a tough guy, but I say this to a lot of people. Just because I could be a sensitive person or a caring person, don't mean I won't, you
Exactly. Yeah. It don't
know.
mean I ain't going.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I know
For
I can
sure.
handle myself.
Yeah. Facts. And
Yeah.
it's messed up. We even got to put that out there, but it's just that's people get it confused. They think it's one or the other, and that's just backwards. But
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're stronger that you can show that and not care that somebody
bingo.
else is like, look at him crying, because,
Yeah.
you know, it's just not the way it is.
Nah, man. But I appreciate you, man. I know it's stupid early over on the other side of town, man. So
Oh, it's all
even just
good.
being able to get up, and I know you ain't at 100%. So I appreciate it, man.
No, it's all good. And I appreciate your time. Thank you. You have a good day.
Take it easy, bro.
All right, you too.
Thank you for listening to Stories and Solutions in the episode of The Culturalist Theory with CJ Williams. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Hope you had a good time. Everyone else, have a good week. Be easy.